Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a comprehensive overview of a truly remarkable country, Botswana. Now, if you know a bit about Southern Africa, you might immediately think of vast, untouched wildlife reserves and, breathtaking safaris. And while that's absolutely true, the real story of Botswana goes way, way beyond those typical safari stereotypes. We're going to unpack the history, the rich cultural tapestry, and the forward-looking economy of a nation that's quietly become one of Africa's most stable and, frankly, fascinating republics.
Okay, let's dive right into our itinerary for discovering Botswana. First, location and landscapes. Second, history and democratic roots. Third, culture, traditions, and food. Fourth, wildlife and natural wonders. And fifth, modern economy and future.
Section 1, Location and Landscapes. Geography shapes life.
To really wrap our heads around Botswana, you kind of have to anchor yourself spatially. It's a completely landlocked country situated right in the heart of southern Africa, and it's actually cut directly across by the Tropic of Capricorn. A massive chunk of the country's interior is defined by the Kalahari Basin. This incredibly dry, sprawling environment literally dictates everything, from the local climate and vegetation right down to where people can actually settle and build their communities.
But here's the thing, being landlocked isn't actually a disadvantage when you're highly connected. Botswana shares major trade routes with South Africa, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. But there's a particularly strategic river crossing you should know about. It's the Kazangula Bridge, over the Zambezi River, connecting Botswana directly to Zambia. Together, these connections make Botswana an absolutely crucial connector within the Southern African Development Community, linking up trade routes and bridging major regional tourist destinations, like Victoria Falls.
Section 2, History and Democratic Roots. From ancient peoples to a modern republic. The story of Botswana is, of course, much older than the modern republic itself. It kicks off with ancient San communities who've lived in the region for literally thousands of years, and they were eventually joined by early pastoral and farming communities. Fast forward to 1885, the British established the Bechuanaland Protectorate. But, and this is a critical turning point, in 1895, 3 Tswana leaders actually traveled all the way to Britain to oppose proposals that threatened their self-rule. This deep-seated drive to protect local autonomy eventually culminated on September 15, 1966, when Botswana achieved full independence, led by its first president, Seretse Khama. Fast forward to today, and that democratic foundation remains rock solid. We saw this beautifully demonstrated in 2024, when President Duma Boko and his coalition were elected in a completely peaceful transition of power.
Now, what's really interesting here is the concept of the Klogla. You might be wondering, how did Botswana maintain such a peaceful democratic record? Well, the answer lies right in its cultural DNA. Long before colonial rule, the Klogla served as a traditional meeting place. It was, and honestly still is, a forum where community matters are discussed, disputes are resolved, and consensus is highly valued. It acts as this vital cultural bridge, seamlessly blending customary institutions of consultation with the country's modern parliamentary democracy.
Section 3, Culture, Traditions, and Food. The heartbeat of the Botswanas. The people of Botswana are collectively known as Botswana. While English is the official language, Setswana is the national language, and it's a massive unifier. The culture here is incredibly vibrant, built on pillars of song and dance that really animate their ceremonies and festivals. And there's a rich physical heritage, too, seen in beautiful craft traditions. Think beadwork, woven baskets, and pottery. These are designs that are increasingly inspiring modern fashion today. But at the core of all this, it's the community. Respect for elders and deep-rooted hospitality are absolute essentials. You also see this heavy community involvement in traditions like bogati, which is a historical form of bride wealth. It really highlights how marriage isn't just about 2 individuals, it's about uniting extended families and the broader community. And, nothing unites a community quite like food. Traditional communal meals here are fundamentally shaped by that dry climate and a long pastoral history. For hearty staples, you have bogobe, a traditional porridge usually made from sorghum or millet, alongside pap, which is made from maize. These simple, filling greens are really the foundation of the meal. But then, there's the star of the show, siswa. This is a highly localized dish of slow-cooked, shredded meat, typically beef or goat. It is deeply flavorful, intensely tied to the country's food identity, and it's usually brought out for celebrations and big, important gatherings. Section 4, Wildlife and Natural Wonders. A global environmental influence.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer geographic extremes you'll find within the country's borders. Consider the Okavango Delta. It's this vast inland wetland where seasonal floodwaters create a maze of lush channels and lagoons, right smack in the middle of the dry interior. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site just bursting with biodiversity. But then contrast that with the Makdagatagati Pans. This is one of the largest salt pan regions on the entire planet. It's stark, it's dry, but when the seasonal rains finally hit, it transforms into a crucial stage for massive, dramatic wildlife migrations. It's literally like night and day.
This incredible geography directly shapes the urban economy, birthing these really specialized gateway safari towns. Take Maun, for instance. It serves as the primary gateway, launching visitors right into the Okavango Delta. Then there's Kasane, nestled right by the border of 3 other countries, providing direct access to the Chobe region. And speaking of Chobe National Park, it's legendary globally for its massive elephant populations, plus those iconic river cruises that let visitors get up close to the wildlife along the Chobe River.
Beyond the wildlife, though, the landscape holds ancient human secrets. Have you ever heard of the Louvre of the Desert? That's the moniker given to the Tsadilo Hills. This UNESCO World Heritage Site contains thousands of ancient rock paintings. It offers overwhelming archaeological evidence of deep human history and holds immense spiritual and cultural importance to the region. It's basically an open-air art gallery of human evolution. Finally, Section 5, Modern Economy and Future. Looking beyond diamonds.
To really understand the modern economy, we have to look at its commercial centers. Gaborone, the capital in the southeast, drives government and modern business services. Meanwhile, Francistown, in the east, serves as a major historic mining and transport hub. For decades, diamond mining has been the absolute bedrock of Botswana's economic transformation and development funding. But relying on a single resource definitely presents a reality check. The modern state is currently grappling with some critical challenges: fluctuating mineral revenues, a pressing need to improve youth employment, and the looming threat of climate variability on their already dry environment.
So, the crucial point is that Botswana knows it must look beyond diamonds, and even beyond just traditional wildlife safaris. Outlined in government initiatives from January and May of 2026, the country has launched a major tourism diversification strategy. Step 1 involves actively promoting alternative tourism, things like sports, wellness, city tours, and showcasing that rich heritage and culture we talked about earlier. Step 2 focuses on developing infrastructure around the Kasane and Kazangula hubs to encourage tourists to stay longer in the 4-country region. And Step 3 is arguably the most important: ensuring local communities actively participate in and directly benefit from this economic expansion, making growth truly inclusive. We've traveled from the ancient sands of the Kalahari to the modern halls of a thriving democracy. We've seen how geography, a deep culture of consultation, and careful conservation have built a remarkably stable nation. But the story doesn't end here. As Botswana strategically shifts its focus beyond diamonds and traditional safaris to embrace diverse tourism and empower its youth, I leave you with this to ponder. What will the next chapter of this resilient, peaceful republic look like? Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.